What's going on, all my people? Today this video is just about Mexico, the cartel, what's going on there, how much havoc they're wreaking. Now this news is a little bit old, so for those of you but for those of you who are not up to date day by day on current world news, then this is going to be a breath of fresh air and some insight. For those of you who are up to date day by day on current world news, then just disregard it, don't pay any attention unless you just want to watch it for the entertainment value, in which I'd say appreciate you. So without that being further pushed off into the future, let's go ahead and get this party started, shall we?
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi. We are following some developing news out of Mexico. Today, the Mexican army says they killed a powerful cartel leader during an operation meant to capture him. The Defense Department says the leader of the Jalisco New Generation
Was it
cartel was
really meant to capture
wounded
him,
during
though?
that operation about 2 hours from Guadalajara, and he later died while he was being flown to Mexico City.
Couldn't have
And
happened to a
this
nicer
is a
guy.
very powerful cartel there in Mexico. The leader now killed by the Mexican army, according to the Defense Department there. For more on this story, let's bring in Chris Dalby. He is an investigative journalist and author of CJNG, A Guide to Mexico's Deadliest Cartel. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
It's an absolute pleasure, Shauna. Thank you for having me.
So you actually wrote a book about this particular cartel, the CJNG. The Associated Press calls it the most powerful cartel in Mexico. The U.S. Deputy Secretary of State described the leader as one of the most ruthless drug kingpins in the world. Can you tell us more about this?
Absolutely. If you've heard about the worst of Mexican cartel violence, the most abhorrent acts, the bodies, the decapitated corpses, the videos, a lot of that begins with the CJNG. El Mencho is one of the most influential drug kingpins in the last 30 years. I would put him at the same level as Pablo Escobar and El Chapo when it comes to the quantity of drugs that his organization has moved in Mexico, in the United States, and further abroad.
And that's the thing to remember too, you guys, is not just how violent and how absolutely malicious this group of animals, quite frankly, are in the cartel, but the amount of weight that they're pushing is equal, or this leader is responsible for pushing, is equal to that of Pablo Escobar. So this is not a small fry. This is not small weight. This guy's moving a lot of drugs that's killing a lot of people. Not to mention how many people are being murdered and maimed and hurt, because they are, when it comes to animalistic just brutality, this cartel group is bar none. So like I said, wiping them off the face there. Now the only bad side of this is, now that you've wiped him out of the way, you've got his 5 lieutenant or 6 lieutenants is going to be fighting for the power of that organization, and there's going to be all kind of innocent people hurt along the way with that. So that's the unfortunate side about that. But if you're going to dismantle something that's especially something as evil as the cartel, that's just the bad side of it. It should have never gotten this far. If Mexico would have kept the cartel's power in check instead of cutting deals with them along the way, this might not have ever got that far. But that's neither here nor there now, because it's too little too late for that. So
You now that he's dead, what does that mean for this operation? Who takes the lead? And will there be maybe more retaliation from the cartel now that this has happened?
President Trump has rightly designated Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. And El Mencho had a bounty on his head of $50 million for anyone giving information that led to his capture. As I said, El Mencho needed to face justice. But the kingpin strategy, as we call it, which is where you focus on removing the kingpin, the head of the cartel, and that's your sole focus, has a major problem. Because the kingpins are often the ones controlling an organization. And when they are removed, and we've seen it with Escobar, we've seen it with El Chapo, and we're going to see it with El Mencho, that unifying force, that cult of personality, goes away. There are 5 or 6 leaders of the CJNG, which I identify in my book, who all have significant manpower, drug trafficking potential, contacts in the US, money laundering options, and incredible finances and weaponry that they will absolutely use if they think that they can claim a piece, if not all, of the CJNG.
And that's what makes this gang so dangerous, you guys, is the fact that it's not just thugs running around on the street with neck tattoos. Like, this is a well orchestrated very collaborated, military-esque type group, almost militia in the way that they're very structured. They're very well put together. They have contacts everywhere. They have connections with the triads. They have all across the world. They have connections and footholds in different places. So this is something that's going to be very hard to stamp out. This is not, again, this has been let go for too long and put on the back burner for too long, and let's just kick the can down the road until now. This organization's gotten so huge with the amount of money that they've acquired that I don't know how easily we can get rid of them. I'm not going to say if we can get rid of them because, quite frankly, they're not as much as the cartel is a danger. They're not a danger for someone like a world power or something like that. They're not even close to that. So it's like, yeah, they can be stomped out, but how easily can that be done? Not very easily at all. It's going to be an absolute struggle to get them gone. That's a fact.
To my knowledge, El Mencho didn't pick a successor. To my knowledge, El Mencho didn't go to his lieutenants and say, when I die or when I'm arrested, this is the next guy. He may have done, but we certainly have no information as to that. So right now, what we're seeing in Mexico, the immediate response is what we call the narco blockades or the narco bloqueos. This happens a lot when these top guys are removed. And the cartel wants to make a big show of, burning cars and blocking highways and blocking access to the airport. That often goes away within a few days, especially because the area in which they're being violent, Guadalajara, one of the biggest cities in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, a place that millions of Americans go to on holiday, is where the government is absolutely going to want to show we're not letting the cartel dominate this for long. After that, across Mexico, there are so many criminal economies that the CJNG was involved with. We're talking about tens of billions of dollars in criminal earnings that are now up for grabs.
And right now, we're showing some video, but you just mentioned those cars set on fire, the killing of this powerful drug lord, setting off hours of roadblocks with those burning vehicles, both in Jalisco and other states. Can you talk a little bit more about this tactic that is commonly used by the cartels to block these military operations? How big of a scale is this? We also want to show a little bit of those images of the smoke that arose from these multiple car fires today. What do you take from this reaction from the cartel, and what more can we expect?
So information coming to me in the last hour has suggested that there's been some movement there. Yes, in the hours immediately after El Mencho died, gunmen took to the streets, imposed a curfew on much of Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. Again, these are cities in Jalisco. This is their home turf. This is where we can expect a stronger reaction. But there were videos of gunmen at the airport. That appears to have been substantiated, but that situation appears to have been resolved. Police and army were able to retake control of Guadalajara airport. We don't have information about casualties yet, but the gunmen never reached the tarmac. We're seeing videos shared online of burning planes or the whole city on fire. Those are seem to be fake news. In Puerto Vallarta, the cruise port appears to have had a fire.
Now, I will say this: the whole city, of course, not on fire, but I have seen videos of where there's fires all across the city. So it's like it looks like a war zone. Like and that's from the cartel purposely starting fires across the city to cause chaos and turmoil to try to be like, we won't be bullied. But they're dealing with a world power now that's being led by someone in the name of Donald Trump, who will not be bullied, who will not back down, and will not give these guys any leeway. And it demands a certain amount of respect. Any real fighter out there knows that the guy standing across from you, you can respect him. He may be kicking the shit out of you, but you can have a lot of respect for him, and usually you do. So this respect factor there that the cartel has for Trump, it's weird to me. It's weird, but it's also familiar to me. So it's not. It makes sense, and I'll show you more of that later. But yeah, that's pretty wild that the cartel actually respects Trump, even though he's trying to obliterate him. It's a crazy thing, I guess.
There, preventing access. But again, those situations could probably be resolved in the next few hours to days, with perhaps some casualties, but a limited number. The problem is that Guadalajara is going to be a World Cup city in 5 months. Puerto Vallarta is one of the biggest tourism destinations in Mexico and a constant place that Americans visit. That sort of reputational damage takes months or years. to recover from. So what the CJNG has done here is, in an outburst of violence that might be controlled, create long-lasting economic ramifications for Mexico and the United States. I don't expect the violence in the medium to long term to be in the cities. I expect it to be in rural Mexico, in small town Mexico, where the drugs are going through, where the fentanyl is being manufactured, where the migrants are being smuggled, where the oil is being stolen. Because those are the areas where there are no tourists, there are few cameras, and the violence can happen almost with impunity. And that is a problem that Mexico is going to have to figure out. And I don't know to what extent the US government is going to be interested in helping them, because the US was very focused on El Mencho. What happens next is open for debate.
And the Defense Department says that during this operation to capture El Mencho, the Mexican troops came under fire. They ended up killing a total of 7 people, including the cartel leader. They also seized some armored vehicles, other arms, and rocket launchers, they say. So how big of a blow will this have to the cartel's operation, or might it weaken this powerful cartel there in Mexico?
The arrests and seizures of weaponry and killings outside of El Mencho are trivial. The Jalisco cartel has thousands of members and has enough weaponry to arm a small army. El Mencho was the cult of personality at the center of this cartel. Every video that they did showing their strength, every video that they did killing one of their opponents, every banner that they put up in their territory always ended with the same phrase: Somos la gente del Señor Mencho. We are the people of Mr. Mencho. He really ruled with an iron grip. And that's what I mean by his removal is so dangerous. Because when you have a cartel, and it's unique in Mexico, not even El Chapo with the Sinaloa cartel have this sort of sole power. El Mencho founded the Jalisco cartel. No other person has ever come close to toppling him. And no one really knows what happens next. So it is definitely going to weaken the Jalisco cartel. I don't even know if the Jalisco cartel is going to survive in its present form, because it is now very tempting for these lieutenants to go out on their own, either to maintain their own operations and keep the money, or to try and take control of the entire CJNG empire.
Yeah, so with that being the case and him being taken out of there, I just don't see them staying together as a cartel. I think that will be disbanded. There'll be too much of an internal struggle for power and money inside of that organization without that leader there to establish that respect and order. I just don't see them staying together. So, another one bites the dust, so to speak, with the leadership under the United States. Now, speaking of the United States, I did say earlier how it was kind of strange that the cartel has this weird respect for Trump. And let's go ahead and look at that real fast.
What's your message to Donald Trump?
El respeto, ¿verdad?
So we've just entered an area of the city that is still very dangerous. After weeks of trying, our contact here on the ground has managed to secure a meeting with a member of the cartel who's involved apparently in the production of drugs. ¿Cómo estás? This man is talking to us on the condition we hide his identity and location. Can I pull up a chair? He says he produces fentanyl for the Sinaloa cartel. How safe or dangerous is this area to be in?
En estos momentos todas las áreas son peligrosas.
I mean, according to the Trump administration, you are a terrorist. I mean, the cartels have been labeled a foreign terrorist organization. What do you make of that?
Está fea la situación, ¿verdad? Está fea la situación, pero pues todos tenemos que comer.
What's your message to Donald Trump, if he's watching this?
El respeto, él tiene que según él buscar lo mejor para los suyos. Pero el detalle que ya están los consumidores, ¿no? Si no hubiera consumidores, pues uno le parara.
There is a lot of violence playing out on these streets here at the moment every day, right? I mean, people are dying on a daily basis. Children are afraid to go to school. Do you have any sense of remorse over your role and your involvement in this group?
Claro que sí, creo que sí. Pues está triste la cosa, pero pues.
That is the thing too. This very odd to when you think of a cartel member, you think ruthless maniac, crazy person, but it's like this guy seems very well grounded, very self aware. He's not so egotistical that when you say something to him, like, you've been deemed a terrorist, he's like, what? Blah, 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 start flipping out. Or when you say things like your drugs are killing people and people are being caught in the crosshairs, he's like, we ain't got nothing. He's not denying any of this. He's very self aware and very established in the fact that, yeah, it's messed up. It is what it is. Like, it is. So it's like to see that from them is it's kind of like, wow, okay, well, these people are a lot more non one dimensional. They're actually, very multidimensional in the way that they carry themselves, and they're not just closed minded and foolish people, which is probably why the cartel is so dangerous, because they're actually very methodical, thought out people. They're not just ruthless monsters and crazy people. Though they commit ruthless, monstrous acts, they are ruthless monsters at the end of the day, but they're very methodical and very thought out, and again, very militaristic in the way that they carry out operations and things. So it's a very hard thing to try to press against. So that's why they've had the success they've had, because they are as open minded as they are with this. Speaking of Trump, just a quick fun tidbit, because he's quite the character. So let's go ahead and flip to something else where it's reporters are asking him questions about stuff, and he's very open about things for the most part. He's not very closed off. He's very straightforward and open with telling you how he feels. He's not keeping much under his sleeve, I guess you'd say. So let's check that out real quick.
Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do
wrong
it.
with you,
I
bro?
told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it.
crazy.
The cartels are trying to destroy our country. They're evil. She's so afraid of the cartel she can't walk, so that's the reason. And I think she's a lovely woman. But the president of Mexico is a lovely woman. But she is so afraid of the cartels that she can't even think straight.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And at the end of the day, I don't know that she's currently so scared of it now, because she's actually taking action to try to ward out and get rid of them. But certainly that has been the case in the previous leader, and the previous leader, I think, might have put that in her head a little bit. And here's the other thing: in order to be a sovereign nation, you have to have a monopoly on power. You have to have the absolute. Otherwise, any little group inside your country could just come up and overthrow your country and take. So, in order to protect your citizens and be a sovereign nation, you have to have a monopoly on power. Otherwise, how are you going to protect your citizens? So, that's something Mexico has not had for a long time. So, I'm glad to see that they're actually going about trying to do that. I think it took Trump lighting the fire under her ass and telling her, and also telling her, we'll have your back in any way possible. Maybe gave her the encouragement to try. But certainly that's something that's been sorely missing. So it's good to see Mexico starting to come around and try to establish themselves again as a sovereign nation, so they can look out for their own and take care of their people. So, but anyways, that's been the show for the day. That's pretty much all I got, you guys. If you enjoyed it, I hope you did. Get one of these, subscribe, whatever the rest of it. That's pretty much all I got. As always, love you guys, and stay woke, my friends.